Hi guys, this is Vixxstarr and today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute grey and white playful kitty. I think it's absolutely adorable. You can do the ears smaller if you like. I do show you what they look like before I add the extra little curl to them, like I didn't do on these ones. Yeah, it's up to you how you want to do the features. You can do small eyes, you can do big eyes, you can do a different nose, you can add whiskers. Totally up to you, but I'm just going to show you my basic design on how I did its yeah, arms, legs, body, all of it, and how we got it together. And you can actually add extra rows to make your kitty longer. You can increase it more if you want to make your kitty fatter, but I'd probably say just follow on with me how I do it today. This is not really a beginner's tutorial, so yeah, I hope you guys don't have any problems keeping up, and I hope it's easy enough to understand, and I hope you enjoy. Sorry I haven't done an exact band count on this kitty. It's totally up to you. In some spots, if you find you're having gaps around the legs, that sort of thing, you can add more bands in. So yeah, that's a little bit you need to use your self-judgment. Just realised that I've left one of my little bands in here that was showing me where I was. But yes, so we will get to that, but choose whatever colours you like. If you want to give it mittens, then follow the design. I'll show you how. If you want to give it little spots or stripes, that's completely up to you, but today I just did the plain grey with the white mittens and tail and ears. So yeah, approximately 1,200 bands, I'd say 2 full bags of bands went into this little guy. Maybe not so many, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I feel like I kind of stumbled through doing the head and the body a little bit because it was hard to show you on camera. But like I said, I hope you guys can follow, and it's using pretty much the same techniques throughout the whole design. So I think once you catch on, it will be quite easy, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So let's get started. Okay, so for the paws, the legs, the back legs I didn't bother doing the little claws. The front legs I just did 3 little claws. So I'll do one of the front paws with you, then you'll have to rewind and do another one, and I'll do one of the back paws with you, and same thing, rewind and do another one. So starting with the back paw, grab your hook, your desired colour. I'm going to do the white socks and then grey. So grey and white. I've got a bag on my head at the moment because I put purple colour in my hair. So starting with the white at the tip, just grab one band, go around your hook 3 times. So that band, 1, 2, 3, like so. Grab another singular band and pull it through that band, getting all those 3 on, and reclaim it. Then grab another band, singular band, just go straight through that one you've got there. So this is one stitch with our cap band in the middle. Okay, we're going to go back through that centre, so grabbing all 3 pieces of that first band, pull a singular band through, reclaim it, so you've got the first piece, and then the one you just did, pull another singular band through, all of that on your hook. So that's 2 stitches. We're going to go back through that centre cap band, all 3 pieces, singular band through. We're going to do this for 9 stitches. So then another singular band through all. That's 3. Back through that center band, just pulling a single band through, reclaiming it of course, grabbing another single band, pulling it through all. So that should be fine. So going back through that center band, pulling a single band, reclaim, another single band through all. That's 5 stitches back through that center, pulling a band, reclaim, single band through all, 6 stitches back through the center, making sure you're always getting the 3, pulling a band, reclaim, another single band through all of those, so that's 7, back through the center, pulling a band, another single band through all of those, 8 for the 9th stitch. So we'll just recount. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on my hook. We're going to put through number 9 through the center, single band, reclaim it, and then we're going to grab not the first band but the second one. We can see as a teardrop there. So that's our first stitch, our first teardrop. All on our hook, grab a single band and just pull it through all of those and reclaim it. So you should have that circle with 9, so counting the 1 on your hook would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Now we're going to continue around that, just putting 1 stitch in each of those little teardrops. So the first one on our hook we will count as 1, so we'll go 1 single band through and reclaim, and a second single band through and reclaim. So that's our first stitch there. We're going to go into our next, so our first teardrop off that stitch here, pull a band, 1 single, reclaim it, and then grab another single and pull it through all. So that will be 2 stitches. So we've got 1, 2. First joins onto the second, so going to the next teardrop in our round, pulling a band, grabbing another single and pulling it through all of those. So that's 3, and we will have 9 by the time we get to the end. So just keep going around, pulling 1 band through and then a second band through all of those on your hook. Next one, just making sure you're only putting 1 stitch into each of those teardrops. 1 band and then 1 band through all. 1 band, 1 band through all. So going on to the next again, teardrop, just the 2 bands on the top, pulling 1 and then 1 through all, next one along, pulling a band and then 1 through all of those. The next one, so you can see as you move around that you're putting 1 stitch into each of those previous stitches on that circle row. So I'm coming around to the end. We've got our last one. That was my last one, so what I might do, pretend I've just done 8. I've got 1 more stitch here, and then that one was my starting stitch. Okay, so I've got that 1 last teardrop before it attaches to that first round. Pull a single band, hold it there, and then count on that next teardrop where it goes the first band, the second, that's the teardrop on the next round. It's the second band, but it's the first teardrop. Grab a single band and go through all of those off your hook. Okay, so I hope you got that. It's a little bit hard to see too, but this is what you should have. You've got your circle, and now you've got like the mitten to the foot there. Okay, so still with that one single white band on your hook, I'm going to change colours, so I'm going to go straight to a single grey. I'm going to do the same thing for this round. I'm just going to put a single stitch into each one of those teardrops. You might have to curl it around so that you can see the top, but we're going through each of those teardrops. 1, 2, 3, and there will be 9 around. So we've put one singular grey. I'm going to go for my second singular grey. That brings us up to our first stitch in our round. So that first teardrop leading off here, we're going to go through. Grab another singular grey, or whatever colour you've chosen, pull it through and reclaim. And then grab another singular grey and pull it through all of those off the hook. So that was our second stitch, okay? Going into that next teardrop, so we just went into that one, going into the next one. It's a little bit easier to see when you've had a colour change. Pulling a single band through all, onto the next teardrop, pulling a single band through, grabbing another single band, pulling it through all, onto the next, pulling a single band, pulling a single band through all, onto the next, single band through, single band through all, onto the next. And you can just get those two on the top, single band through all. So that should be 7. This is number 8. Single band through all. And number 9, we're just going to go through that last teardrop there, pull a single band. Then we're going to go not the first grey, but the second, which is the teardrop on the top. So we're going to claim that and then pull a single through all of those. So that finishes off that row. I'm going to do one more row exactly the same, and then that will be the end of that first pour. So just put through a single grey and then another single again. Brings us up to our height of our stitches. So that's our first stitch. Going into that next, which is the first teardrop there, pulling through a single, reclaiming, and then pulling a single through all of those. Moving on to the next teardrop, pulling a band through, and then pulling another band through all. Onto the next teardrop, single band through, single band through all, onto the next teardrop. Call them teardrops, they look like teardrops. Onto the next, pulling a band through, and pulling a band through all. Coming back around to the end once again, onto the next stitch, pulling a band through, pulling a band through all, and this is our second last stitch, so number 8, pulling a band through, pulling a band through all. Number 9, doing the same thing, just pulling a band through. You know it's the last one because then it leads on to our first stitch. Okay, pulling a band through, then finding not that one, not that first band off it, but the second, which is the teardrop. Grabbing a single band and pulling it through all of those, and that's the end of that row. And there is your back pour. So I have 2. you will have to rewind and do the exact same thing again so that you have two exactly the same. I'm going to move on. So what you can do with that paw, grab an old band of a different colour that's maybe a bit stretched, like a throw-out band I'd say, and I use them just to do a slip knot so that I'm not having to worry about attaching and detaching C-clips everywhere, or you can just use a C-clip, whatever's easiest for you. But that's that foot done. Ta-da! It should look something like that. Now we'll move on to the front paw, which is, in all honesty, exactly the same thing. So I'll show you how to do the same thing once again, but we will add 3 little stitches in for the claws instead of just leaving it white. So starting exactly the same way with your white band, once again taking a single band and going around your hook 1, 2, 3 times, grabbing another single band, pulling it through that one, I've got moisturiser on my hands so it's a bit slippery. Okay, reclaiming, grabbing another single band, going straight through, so you've got your cat band and then 2 single bands. Go back through the centre of that cat band, 1, 2, 3 pieces, grabbing another single white, straight through, reclaim, single white through all of those bands off your hook. So that's 2 stitches. Back through the centre, pulling single band. This will be our 3rd stitch. Another single band through all. The next one, which is our 4th, I'm going to go through the centre, but I'm going to pull a grey band. So we're going to go grey, reclaim, and then white, because I'm going to do little grey claws. So back through that centre, grabbing another grey band, and then another white band through all, back through the centre once again, grabbing another grey band, and then another white band. So that's what it should look like so far. Back through the centre, that should be 6 stitches. This is our 7th, white band through all, we've got stitch 8, white band through, and another white through all, and then number 9 through the centre, pulling that single band, then finding not the first band but the second as it starts to turn into a teardrop. You grab that band on your hook, grab a single white band and pull it through all off your hook. So there's our circle for the start of the paw, which will be with the little mitten and the claws. We're going to turn that into our first stitch. So we're going to go white single and then another white single. So we've got the end of that row and the first stitch in the second. Going into our first teardrop, we're just going to put a single stitch in each of these teardrops all the way around. Next teardrop or next stitch, single band, then single band through all, next stitch, single band, then single band through all, onto your next stitch, little claw there, so just the white band, single and then single through all, carrying that on around, so into the next teardrop, next stitch there, single, single through all, next stitch, single, and single through all, through your, wish my camera would focus properly, next stitch, single, single through all. So I'm up to that 7, 8, so my last stitch 9, because you can tell once you get to 8 there's one teardrop and the next teardrop already has another band coming off of it, so that's the start of the round. You can put markers on these bands every time you go around, but I find it's easy enough not to. So that last stitch, pulling that single band through and then finding that's the same round, not the first band but the second, which is that first teardrop along the top, pulling a band through all of those, and this is where I'm going to make my colour change. So I'll go back to grey, sorry guys, so pulling one single grey through, another single grey through, and that's our first stitch. So we're going to put one stitch into each one of these stitches around, so straight through the first teardrop next to there, pulling a single grey and then a single grey through all, onto our next stitch, next teardrop, single grey and then a single grey through all, onto the next, pulling a single, then a single through all, into the next stitch, pulling a single, then a single through all, into the next stitch. Like I said, it's easier to see where you're up to when you've made a colour change. Single through all, next stitch, single, single through all. So we've got up to number 8, single, single through all, and number 9 we put our single through that last white, and then we grab not the first grey but the second grey, which is our first stitch, and pull a single through all of those, and then onto our next round, which is another round of just a single stitch into each of those, and that is our paw done. So adding single grey, another single grey, brings us up to our stitch level. That's our first stitch, that first teardrop there, adding a band through and then a band through all, next stitch, band through and a band through all, onto our next stitch, band through and then a band through all, keep going all the way around, putting a single band through each stitch, band through all, 7, okay, number 8, single band through and a single band through all, and my last one I'm just going to put a single band through and then counting not the first but the second where that teardrop is, and pulling a band through all, reclaim it. Like I said, you can C-clip it, or you can grab a crappy band of a different colour and just slip knot it through to hold it together, stop it coming apart. And there is our little paw with the little claws. So now I've got 2, so you need to rewind, go back and make another one. So then you have 2 front paws and 2 back paws. Okay, so do that, and then we will make the eyes and the ears. So here is the ear that I'm going to show you how to make today. There are many different ways that you can do ears. You could decide to leave your ear just like so without adding the extra flap. It's completely up to you, but I'll show you how I did this one. Starting with the white for the tip, whatever colour you're going to use for your ear or for the tip of the ear, around your hook 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Grabbing another single band, pulling it through all 4 and reclaiming. Grabbing another single band, pulling it through and reclaiming. Then we're going to go back through the 4 from the first cap band. So just making sure you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Pulling a single band through, reclaiming it, and then a single band through all of those bands off your hook. Back through that center cap band with the 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pulling another single band through and reclaiming. Then another single band through all of those. So those 4 off your hook. So you've got that there. Now I want you to add another single band through, and then another single band through. So you've got that with your 2 extra. Flip it over as if you're turning a book, I guess, and go into, so that's what it looks like. We've got 1 band, so we've got 1 teardrop, 2 teardrops, there's your 3rd. So flip it over, go back to the one next to your 3rd, so the 2nd here, pull a single band through, reclaim, and pull a single band through all. Then go back through that same one that we just went through, pull a single band through, reclaim, and then pull a single band through all. Now we're going to go through that next teardrop. You might have to fiddle it around so you can see where it is, but it's not the first band coming off but the 2nd. Through that, pull a single band through, reclaim, and pull a single band through all. And this is where I decided to do my colour change to the grey. So there's your cap band there on the top. This is the row that we've just laid out. I'm going to do the switch to the grey, so I'm going to go single band through, and then another grey, single band through. Then I'm going to flip it, so it's going to go that way, go straight back through where those first grey are, straight back through there, pull single grey, and then another single grey through all, straight back through the next one. So if you turn it slightly, you can see there's the teardrops. So in through that first teardrop after that one, single grey, and then a single grey through all. I'm going to put a 2nd stitch through that same one again. So single grey through all. Moving on to the next teardrop. I'm going to put 2 stitches through that one the same as we just did, so 1, and then again 2, single and single through all. Moving on to the next teardrop there. I'm going to put 2 through there as well, so single through all, going back through that same white, single through all. So that's what you should have. We've just turned the 4 into 8. So that could be your ear. as it is, like so. You could attach it and that could just be your cat's ear. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add a border around the top half so that it looks like the flap kind of a cat's ear, like so. So if you want to finish it like that, just grab a C-clip or a band and knot it off. Otherwise, we're going to grab another grey single, pull it through, go back through. So if we turn it on its side, you can see the teardrops. Go back through the same one, pull a band through, reclaim, and a band through all. Moving on to the next grey, we'll make that a teardrop there on the corner. Pull a grey through, and then a grey through all. Then I'm going to switch back over to white. So moving on to the next white stitch, pull a white through, and then a white through all. Onto the next white stitch. These are all a little bit twisted, but it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you're getting the outside white stitch, pull a band through, then a white band through all. Moving up to the next one here, which is right off the edge of our cat band. So what I want you to do is pull a band through and hold it there. Then go through your cap band. It's a bit tricky. Go through all four, pull a band through, and then go through that next one as well. Pull a band through. So we've kept each band that we've pulled through. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4 bands. So it's actually 8 bands, but 4 doubled, if you get what I mean. So now grab a single, pull it through all of those, all of them, reclaim it, and that's what gives that little bit of a flappy bit at the front. Moving on to the next, so you can see that that's joined into that stitch we just did. Moving on to the next one, pull a white through, pull a white, another single white through all. Moving on to the next stitch, there, pull a single white through, and then pull a white through all. Through the next white stitch, and then we're going to change back over to grey. So pulling a band through and then a band through all. Find, this is where it's a bit twisted, but find where you want your bands to settle. Probably go there, that last one. Pull a grey band through, and then pull a grey band through all. The last one I'm going to grab there. Pull a grey band through, and then a grey band through all. And that's where we can either put the C-clip on, or we can grab another band. I'm just going to grab another band, slip knot it, fiddle with it so that it's, pardon me, all comfortable. And your ear should look something like that. Okay, so this is frog in my throat. This is the one that I had done already, and this is the one that we just did. Okay, so there's our 2 cute little kitty ears, and you should have your front paws, your back paws, ta-da. I was going to do the eyes, but then I realised we haven't done the tail yet, so we might do the tail first and then we'll come back and do the eyes. Okay, so I'm hoping that you've rewound and done your second ear, so you got your paws and your ears. We're going to do the tail, so starting with the white tip, going around 3 times with a single band. The tail is going to be the same start as the paws, but we're going to do 7 stitches. So this will be the first, putting a single band through that cap band, grabbing a second band, going through. So that's our first stitch. So we're going to grab another band, we're going to go through that center band again, pulling a single band through, reclaiming, grabbing our next single band through all, that's 2 stitches, back through that center cap band, pulling a single band through, then pulling a single band through both those bands, back through that center cap band, making sure you've got all 3 bits of that band, pulling a single band through, then pulling another single band through both of those bands. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be stitch 5, single band through, single band through both, stitch 6 through the center, single band through, single band through both those bands on your hook, and then 7, we're going to go through the center, just pull a single band through, then we're going to count not the first white band but the second one, which is going to be that first teardrop there, so just making sure you grab it the right way and pulling a single band through all of those bands. So reclaiming, so you should be able to count on your hook there, that band is 1, next teardrop's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in straight single band through and another one through. That's our first stitch of our next row. I'm going to go straight in through that first teardrop that's coming off that stitch, put a single band through and then a single band through both. We're going to go all the way around, putting a single stitch into each of those teardrops. So there should be 7. It's not a big deal if you've got 1 more or 1 less, but 7's a good number. So into the next, pulling a single band through, and then pulling a single band through all of that. The next one, just the teardrop, pulling a single band through, reclaiming and pulling a single band through both those bands. Into your next stitch, pulling a single band through and then pulling a single band through both of those. So we've got 1 more stitch, so this is number 7, just pulling that single band through and then counting not the first band off but the second, which is the first teardrop in the next row, holding that there and pulling a single band through all of those. So that's the tip of our tail. Now I'm going to switch over to grey and we're going to do the same thing 4 times, so 4 rows. So I'm going to go single grey, single grey, and then finding the first stitch. So you might have to flip this around a little bit because it'll be a little bit tight because we've only just stitched it, but your first teardrop right there, single grey through, reclaim, and then single grey through all. Onto the next one. Sorry, my lighting is pretty horrible. Single grey through, single grey through both. Onto your next white stitch, single grey through, and then single grey through both. Next white stitch, single grey through, and then another single grey through both of those bands, next white stitch. So coming up, so second last, pulling a grey through, and then a single grey through both those. The last white stitch there, pull a grey through, then count not your first grey band but your second grey band, holding it there and pulling a single grey through all of those. So that's another row. I'm going to do 3 more rows. So single grey again, that's our first stitch, pulling it open so that you can see the top row of just the grey, that first stitch coming off the tear shaped stitch, pulling a grey through, and then a single through both of those, onto the next, which is that one there, pulling, that's a black, we don't want that, pulling a grey through, and then pulling a grey through both of those, onto your next grey tear stitch, pulling a single grey through, grab some more grey bands. Okay, so single grey through all of those, moving on to your next stitch, pulling a single grey through, then a single grey through all those, onto your next stitch. So that's the second last stitch of that row, pulling a grey through and pulling a grey through all. Like I said, you can count back, so the one on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is our 7th we're putting through now, pulling a grey, then counting off that next one, not the first band but the second, so it's that first teardrop of the next row, grabbing a grey and pulling it through all those. So that's 2 rows of grey that we've just done. We've got the little tip, which is the white of the tail. I'm going to do 2 more rows of grey, so your tail will end up about so long. So with the next row, adding a single grey, adding a single grey, and then into your first stitch of grey there, that little teardrop, pulling a stitch through and just putting a single stitch through each of those 7 stitches around that row. I'm just going to keep going around, adding a stitch in, so there should be 5, and 6, so number 7, I'm pulling a band through, and then I'm grabbing that first teardrop on that row of the grey and pulling a single grey through all of those. And our last row, so adding in single grey, onto the first teardrop stitch, and just a single stitch in each of those till we get back to that end. Next, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I can get my bands apart. 5, and 6. 6. Now lucky number 7 should be right there. Pull a single band through, find the first stitch there, and pull a single band through all of those. So that is your tail. What I'm going to do is grab this band that's a bit of a thin, crappy one, and just slip knot it there. Give it a bit of a flex and a stretch so that the bands become comfortable. There's the tail. So now you should have your paws, your tail, and your 2 ears. We're going to make the eyes, and we'll be ready to put them together. Okay, so for the eyes, you've got a few options. I'm just going to use plain glow white and just the plain black. If you do your eyes single banded all the way around, it will come out something like this. I will show you how to do these eyes here, which are the bigger ones. They're single and double banded, and I'll also show you how to do the smaller one as well, which is completely cap banded. Okay, so this green one here is the same as the white one, but it's just showing you what it looks like if you try and do, if you notice a cat's eyes is mainly colour, and it's just got the black in the middle for the pupil, but obviously when you're doing it in loom bands with the black and white, it's a bit more obvious that they're eyes. I think these ones kind of look like reptile eyes. So yeah, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. Could use buttons or button eyes. But yeah, so starting with this one here, grab single band and go around your hook 3 times. Then grab another single band, pull it through. Then grab 2 single bands and pull them through. So that's 1 stitch. That's what we've got. We're going to go back through that center triple band, pull a single band through, and then grab 2 bands. So we're just doing it through that center as we would normally do with starting a circle. 2 bands through all of those bands. So that's 2 stitches. I'm going to do 2 more stitches, so single band through the center, making sure you've got all 3 those loops, the center band, and then double, 2 bands, and back through the center again, single band, grabbing 2 bands, pulling it through. So that's 4 stitches. That's basically half of our eye. Now I want you to grab a single band and double it in your fingers and just feed it straight through. Then we're going to go back through the center again and do 4 more of those stitches. Just single and then double, so 2 bands, back through the center again, single, double, 2 bands. So that's 2 stitches. I'm going to do 2 more, so it's 4 on the top and then 4 on the bottom with that capped band in between. So single, double, back through the center, single, double. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, then that capped band, then 1, 2, 3, and the 4th on the hook. Go back through your first, which is not the band coming out, but the second one, which is the 2, the double. Grab that, grab a single band, cap it in your fingers, or double it in your fingers, and pull it through all of those. And then what I want you to do is grab just another single band, pull it through and slip knot it. So once you fiddle with this a little bit, sorry about my glare guys, those bands, those capped bands on the edges, will pull it out more and make it look more of a cat's eye. Find approximately the center and go up through and then back through the center, so from the bottom to the top, going over the top of that circle in the middle, like so. Okay, I'll grab, say 2 or 3 even single black bands, feed that through the design and grab it on the other side so you can see you've pulled it through. And we just want to either grab a black or even a white and just slip knot those bands. So there's one of your cat's eyes. Get the bands all comfortable, flip them around, and it should look like a cat's eye. And we're going to use these 2 bands here to help fix it to the head. Now to do the smaller one, it's the exact same thing, except I've done the whole design in cat bands. So grabbing for your first band, I would probably double it in your fingers and then go around your hook twice, just to make it that bit tighter. Then for your first band, double in your fingers, straight through that cat band, reclaim, and then just another single band, doubled in your fingers, through. That's our first stitch. So going back through that center band, getting a single and doubling it in your fingers, feeding it through just that center band, getting another single, doubling it in your fingers, feeding it through all of those. So that's 2 stitches, back through the center, single doubled in your fingers, through the center, single doubled in your fingers, through all those bands. And so our 4th stitch, back through the center, single doubled in your fingers, pull it through, reclaim, single doubled in your fingers, through all those. Now because we are doing this out of cat bands, you don't really need to do anything different on the edge. You just do another cat band straight through. So we've done 4 stitches and then the corner edge of the eye, back through the center, single doubled through, single doubled through all, back through the center, single doubled through, single doubled through all. So that's 2 stitches. Number 3, through the center, single doubled. So sorry I'm doing it so fast, but you should know what I'm doing because I've already showed you really. And the last one, single through the center, doubled, and then another single doubled through all. Try and find that first stitch that I was talking about. So not the one coming out of the center, but the one that's joined to it. So just grab onto it there, grab another single, doubled in your fingers, pull it through all, reclaim, and then probably just grab a single. You can double it, you don't have to. This is just going to be our slip knot. Slip knot it. So there is our tightened, smaller cat's eye. Flip it around so that your cat bands get comfortable in themselves, because it will flatten out like that, I promise you, if you just give it a little bit of a play, and all these twisted bands will settle down. Grab probably 2 black bands. You don't have to double them. I'm just going to pull them through, so I might grab 3 actually, just to make it that bit thicker. Go choose which side's going to be your front and go through the bottom in the middle. On the other side, go back up through the top in the middle. Pull those black bands through, reclaim them, and then we'll just do a slip knot on the back, like so. Okay, so just stretch it out, Don't be too rough, but don't be gentle. Make sure it's actually flipping the bands around. And there is your cat's eye. Okay, so we'll have 1 and then 2. It is a bit messy because I did rush through it, but I really hope you guys could keep up. And now we are going to go and work on starting the face. Okay, so the rest of my kitty I'm going to do grey. If you haven't already, you're going to want to rewind and do another eye, obviously. So you should have 2 eyes, your 4 paws, your tail and your 2 ears. Okay, now probably before we start doing it, putting it all together, easiest thing to do, grab some extra bands just as like markers so they're obvious, because what we're going to do with the feet or the paws, I want you to count your stitches around and roughly put one of these markers so that you've got one on each side, because when we're going to attach them, we're going to attach half to one row and then the other half to another row, so we want to know basically where we're at with our stitches. So look at your paws, you want the front paw to be that way up, and we know that the ending stitch is on the top a bit more, it's not completely even, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on each of our paws. We'll probably do 4 on the top and then 5 on the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. I'm going to grab, say that's the top and that's the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put just a marker, so just a little slip knot on each of the side stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the first and probably the 5th, so that we know that's where we're attaching the whole row from that stitch to that stitch, if that makes sense. When we get to it, it'll be more obvious, but just go through and put a marker on each side. So the back feet, paws, it doesn't really matter. We just want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put one here, and then one here. So go through and do that with all of your pieces. The same with the, so basically just your 4 paws and your tail. Choose which way you want to be the top of your tail, and the tail is only, what is it, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to have 3 on one side and 4 on the other. So you can use that ending as 1 and go 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4th stitch just put a marker, and that's how we'll attach it, like so. Go and do that, and we will start with the face. Okay, so I've got my markers on all of my pieces now, and I can just put them aside so that they're ready to join. Obviously we're starting with the face, so we will be getting to probably join the ears. Well, we'll join the face first and then the ears, so we'll have them closest. Starting with your face, alright, taking a single band 3 times around your hook, and we're going to do a circle, but we're going to put 12 stitches in, so all just single bands. Pulling through that center one, making sure we get all 3, reclaiming another single band through, so that's 1 stitch, back through the center band, pulling a band through, another single band, pulling it through, 2 stitches, back through that center band, 1 band, and another band, back through the center band, pulling a band, and another band, back through that center band, pulling a band, another band, back through the center band, always making sure you get all 3 of that piece of center band, pulling a band through, band through all, so I'll just go back and count on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I need to do another 6. So back through the centre band, pulling a band, another band through, back through the centre, pulling a band, another band through, back through the centre, pulling a band, another band through the centre, pull a band, another band through. So I'm going to count where I'm up to, starting from the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll go one more stitch for 11, pulling a band through, and then our 12th stitch we go through the centre, pull a band, and then find your first stitch, so not the one coming out of the centre but the next leading on, and grab the teardrop, and then we pull a band through all of those. Okay, so there is the circle. You should have 12 stitches, so counting the one on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now for the next row, what we're going to do is increase that to 24. So for every stitch we're going to put 2. So we'll leave the first one, we will add 2 stitches, so 1 single, 2 singles, that's our first stitch. First teardrop, we're going to put 2 stitches. We're going to put 2 stitches in every one, like I said. So pull a band through, and then a band through all, going back into that same first stitch, pull a band through all, the next stitch, pull a band through all, straight through that same stitch once again, pull a band through all, and onto the next stitch. 2 stitches into every stitch, so it will double it up, and we will have 24 stitches at the end. See, like I just missed one then because I was talking, so I'll just pull that out and go back. Best thing about these designs is they're so easy to fix if you need to go back. They don't ruin your bands. So we're pulling 1 stitch, then another stitch through that same one, and then on to the next. 1 stitch that I've left in there, pulling it through, another stitch through that same one, pull it through, stitch through the next, so another stitch in the same one, so that's what it should be looking like. 2 stitches into each one stitch, 2 stitches, next one, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, next one, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, next one, 1 stitch, same one again, 2 stitches, next one, 1 stitch, same one again, 2 2 stitches. Okay, so I've got my last stitch there, so I'm going to put 2 into that as normal. 1 and 2, and because the one we started on, we left it as a single. The one we started on, we just left it as a single stitch, so we're going to slip another one in there. So we go back through there, just pull a stitch through, hold it, and then find that first teardrop, so not that band but the next one. Grab onto that, pull a band through all, and that's the end of that row. So if you count around, starting with the band on your hook, 1, counting the teardrops, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we should have 24 stitches all the way around. For the next row, we are going to actually just put markers on this circle. I want you to decide, so probably where we've ended is going to be the bottom of the chin. There's 24 stitches, so we want to have 12 on the bottom and 12 on the top. We just want to put a marker on each side. So grab a couple more bands of a different colour or a couple of C-clips and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, might go 5 or 6, and pop a band through and slip knot it. So you can do it with a hook. I'm just going to slip it through with my fingers because I'm lazy, which is probably going to make it harder, but anyway, and slip knot that. So you've got one there. Sorry about that, guys. And then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we should have 12 and then 12 roughly, just so that it looks right on the eye. If you look at it and it looks like they're pretty much centered, then you should be fine. Okay, so they're just our markers to let us know. They're basically where the cheeks are, the face, where the eyes are going to go around here somewhere. So for our next row, we're just going to go around 1 into each stitch. When we get to the stitches that have the markers, we're going to add 2. Okay, so adding 2 bands, 1 single and then another single, so that's 1 stitch. Into the next teardrop we're going to add a single stitch, 1 band and then 2, single stitch in the next, 1 band and then 2, single stitch. So when you get to your marker, you're going to put 2 stitches, single stitch. So there's my marker, so I'm just going to go 1 stitch, can pull that marker out if it's in the road, and put another stitch in that same one there, and then we'll go back to doing single stitches all the way across the top till you get to your next marker. Single stitch, single stitch, single stitch, single stitch, all the way around, single stitching. Okay, so we're getting there. You can see it's actually starting to curl around a little bit. I've just hooked that, we don't want that. There we go. So single stitch, and we'll do 2 more. Stop grabbing the pink. 1, 2, I'll just do an extra count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, and then we've got the double in there. Just checking myself, guys. So single stitch, and then on the next one we're going to pop the double. Right, so I'll pull that marker out because that's really annoying me now. In through that stitch, pulling a single stitch, and then another one straight through that same teardrop stitch, and then follow through with single stitches until you get back where you started. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're like one stitch too many or one stitch less, it'll be fine, don't stress. So on to the last one, sorry, I'll pull it out. When you get to your last stitch, as normal, pull a single band through and then grab that first teardrop stitch, so not that one but that one, and pull a band through all of those. Okay, so that's what you should have. That will be the back because you can see that it's a little bit more obvious where our lines have changed. So we're going to attach the face to the front. What I might do is just pop a C-clip on, or I might even just grab one of these pink bands and slip knot it because I find that a bit more secure. So there's your face. Flip it around a little bit and make it more comfortable in itself. Find the edges. Now you should be able to see if you stretch it out, you've got single, 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 single. Once you get to the one that's got the double, see there's that one stitch and it's got a double, you know that that is one corner of the face. So directly on the opposite side, if we follow it across, there should be another one with a double, and there is right there. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to put a marker there so that it's easier to see. I might actually do that for you guys. I'm going to put a marker on the top stitch of the double because we're going to attach the face. We want it to go on looking not too oblong. So there's my two corners of my head, and we'll say that's the bottom there. Okay, so we want to put the eyes up around here somewhere. So get your eyes and measure them around about where you want them to sit. Decide, I'm going to have where I tied mine off as the center of the eye, so that outside will be like just the cap band. This one I've just tied them together there, but that's the center. Okay, and for the nose you will just use probably 3 or 4 pink bands. So now what you want to do is you want to put bands on the back of your eyes to fix them to the head. So you can use the ones that are already there. Probably you can grab grey or white. You're not going to see them, so I might grab white so it'll blend with the eye. And you just want to grab a few bands from the back stitches, just a couple, and just attach slip knot bands. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3. I'll put one over this side at the other point. Just grabbing a couple where it's not too obvious. Remember, you're at the back of the eye. And then I'll put another little one down here somewhere. So this is what we're going to use to fix them, okay, to the face. I'll do the same with the other one. I've got two that I tied together there, so I might just leave them. And I'll go one on the other side, pop another one in there. Top. Put it a little bit back so that it's not obvious around the edge of the eye. And what have we got? 4. Pop another one in over here. Okay, so I've just put slip knot bands all over the back of the eyes so that we can attach them to the face. And we've got little slip bands just on the edges so you can see that's the bottom down here. And we're going to attach it to the head on the top up there. So find where you want them to be. I'll just give this a little bit more of a flex because I just made it and it's not very neat yet, but that's okay. So that's going to be my center of my eye. Now I'm going to line it up probably just above that circle there and off to the side a little bit. So about there. You can look at where your marker is on the edge and you can see with your stitches where you want to affix the eye so that you can kind of count across if you need to. But a lot of the time it works just by looking. So reach in through the back and grab one of the bands. You can pop it on your finger at the back. Reach in underneath from the back again, grab a band, pop it on your fingy, turning it around, going in through the back, pulling your band through, popping it on your finger, and another one up around here somewhere. So there's many ways to attach eyes and that sort of thing, but I find this is the easiest because if you don't like it, you can pull it off and you can try again. And we're just pulling all those bands through, so it's going to be stuck to the face like so. It's going to look super cute. It's upside down at the moment, but that's just because I'm holding it with my fingers. So grab your hook onto all those bands. Now this is completely up to you how you want to fix these, but I want them to be really tight. So what I'm actually going to do is I might just grab another hook. That was my one that I made, double ender, but it's a little bit tricky to use, but we'll just use it for doing this. So I'm going to go underneath all those bands. I'm going to grab 2 grey bands. Basically I'm just going to slip knot it around. So I'm just going to hold those bands, go underneath, pull those grey bands around, making this really hard for you to see. Okay, so I've got the grey bands around like so, ta-da, and then I'm going to slip knot them, pull them nice and tight on the design, so you've got all those bands slip knotted together, and then what you can do is actually pull those bands, the end of those greys, through all those white and grab the grey bands again and slip knot them again. So grab them there, go through, grab the other end of the bands again and pull them through, not the white. Okay, tight knot, looks messy at the back, but that is going to keep your eyes nice and tight. So now we want to do the one on the opposite side. You're going to do pretty much the exact same thing. Like I said, if you don't like it, you can remove them and refix them, and that is going to be hidden in there. If it's easier, you can even try and fix them down with another band so that they don't get in the way. Okay, like so. Move on to your next eye, put your next eye on. I'm going to do it the exact same way. I'm just going to stop it and I'll get back to you when I've put it on there. Okay, so I've got my other eye on there with the bands through. I'm just holding it with my finger. I'm going to do this grey band once again around. Grab it and slip knot it. Pull it nice and tight. Go back through the whites. Grab that grey or greys and slip knot them again through themselves. Okay. And then I might grab that single grey band that I used to fix the other eye down a bit more and tie it to that one, just to keep them at the back and out of the road, like I said. All the fiddliness. Okay, so there we go. There's the head so far with the eyes attached. All you need to do is just fiddle with your eyes a little bit more, you know, give them a bit of a stretch so they look more like cat's eyes. They will get better, so don't worry about it yet, but that's what you should have so far. Now, for the nose, you can make a nose, you can, you know, do a couple of bands together. I've just looped double bands together. You can make a little nose like so. You could put a button, whatever you like. With these two, see, I did one running down, the other one I did running across. I actually like the one that runs across a bit more, so I'll show you how I did that. But basically just taking, say, 3 or 4 pinkish bands, whatever colour you want to use for the nose. It could be black, and I'm going to affix them probably just below that centre hole. So I'll go up through there and then back down through there, so you can see my hook going in one side and out the other. Grab those 4 pink bands off my finger, just pull them through, still holding onto them, just the pink, and then grab it back on the hook. Okay, so same idea as with the eyes, can't see it much yet. Grab a grey band and slip knot it so that those pinks stay together. Turn it back over, and there is our super cute little nose. And it's kind of hiding that centre hole a little bit, but not really. I don't think it matters too much. So now that we've got the face on there, we are going to keep going with the body. The next row, we are actually adding the ears. I'm just looking at my notes. Once you get to adding the ears, you can add a couple of extra stitches in there, so we'll get to that. Okay, so for the next round, we are going to decrease the half under the chin. So I'm going to leave the markers on the sides. Once we get to the marker, we're going to just single stitch, but under the chin. So I'll go back to pop my hook through my bands, take out that band, and just add single and then single again, so we've got 1 stitch now row. So we'll just keep that as it is. We're going to decrease until we get to there. So the next stitch, the next teardrop, I want you to slip a band through and hold it, then move on to the next teardrop, slip a band through, hold it, and then grab a single band and pull it through all. So what we've just done is we've decreased, we've turned those 2 stitches into 1 stitch. The same with the next. We'll go into the next stitch, just pull a band through and hold it, and then into the next stitch, pull a band through and hold it, grab a single band and pull it through all. We've just decreased again. So 1 more decrease for me before I get to that band, Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're one stitch out, it's up to you. You can put an extra decrease or you can just leave it if it's odd. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in through this next, pull a band, in through the next, pull a band, decrease, and I will slip another decrease and finish on that one. So in through the next, pull a band, and then in through the one with the marker, pull a band, and then band through. So we've done that decrease. Now from that marker, I might just leave it there to remind myself where it is. Go on to the next stitch, or should I say from that marker, this is where we want to decide where we're going to attach the ears. So slip your band up on your hook a little bit more so you don't lose it. Grab your ears and decide which ear you want for which side. Ta-da! And probably to make it easier, we will go along. I'm going to use, doesn't really matter, does it, with the ears. I am going to attach from the next stitch up, like so, so it's sitting just above the eyes, the other way around. So let me just do a quick count and I will get back to you. Okay, so because these ears are a little bit different to my other ears, like I said, you can do your ears as however you like. These ones are all just slightly different. I really liked how this first one came out, so I decided to show you how I did that instead. What I'm going to do with these ones is I'm going to do 2 of these stitches to every 1 stitch on the cat's head. So I want you to grab your stitch that you're starting with, so the one on the corner. What we're going to do is we're just going to lay it flat over the cat's eye. Moving my stitch down, so I'm onto the next one after where my pink band is. I'm going to grab the first stitch in the cat's ear on my hook, just the whole bunch of that first stitch where you think, so that it fastens it to it nicely. I'm going to go through that first stitch, I'm going to pull a band through and reclaim. Then I'm going to go through the next stitch in the cat's ear, and I'm going to go through the same stitch that I just went through, that is the head. Okay, then I'm going to get a single band and pull it through all of those. So moving on to the next, grab the next stitch on the cat's ear and the next stitch on the head, pull a band through, grab the next stitch on the cat's ear, the same stitch on the cat's head, pull a band through, and then pull a single band through all. Okay, and once again the next stitch on the cat's ear, the next stitch on the cat's head, pull a single band through, the next stitch on the cat's ear, the same stitch on the cat's head. Okay, pull a band through, and then a single band through all. So the next stitch on the cat's ear, the next stitch on the cat's head, pull a band through, the next stitch on the cat's ear, the same stitch on the cat's head, pull a band through, then a single band through all of those. Next stitch on the cat's ear, next stitch on the cat's head, pull a band through, and next stitch on the cat's ear, same stitch on the cat's head, pull a band through. And because I've only got one more stitch there and I like where it's going to end on the head, I might just put, and that's also my last stitch that closes off my ear, so I have to make sure that I actually hook in where that green band is. I'm going to attach that same stitch and I'm going to go through that same stitch on the head, so we're putting three through that last one. Single band through, and then a single band through all. So that should have completely attached my ear to the head. And that's what it looks like underneath. Sorry guys, moving out of shot. So now we should be able to count how many stitches you just used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, say 6 stitches for the ear. So we might be able to do a single stitch straight through here, and then add the next ear. Might come out a little bit lopsided, but that's right. I'm just going to do it. Sorry guys, but it's one of those things. This design was really one of a kind, so it's hard to replicate it perfectly. So I'm going to go through that next stitch on the head. I'm just going to pull a single band and through. So now the next stitch, we're going to attach the other ear. So I'm going to lay it down on top of the eye once again. I'm going to find the first stitch in the ear. This time we're going to start with 3, so we're mirroring the other side. So first stitch in the ear, next stitch in the head, pull a band through, reclaim, next stitch in the ear, same stitch in the head, pull a band through, reclaim, next stitch in the ear, same stitch in the head. So we've just popped 3 into 1 on the head, pulling a single band through all, moving on to the next stitch in the ear and the next stitch in the head, single band through, next stitch in the ear, same stitch in the head, pull a band through, single band through all, next stitch in the ear, next stitch in the head, pull a band through, next stitch in the ear, same stitch in the head. So next stitch of the ear and the same stitch of the head, pull a band through, and a band through all, next stitch of the ear, next stitch of the head, pull a band through, next stitch of the ear, which should be coming up to the end. So if you can find, if it is your bit where it fastens, probably just go through that band. Just make sure obviously that once you pull that last band off, it's going to be fastened completely. You don't want your ear coming apart obviously. So back through the same stitch in the head, pull a single band through, and then a single band through all. So for me that's the end of my ear, and I've come up, I might just pop another stitch there through that end one just to make sure it is fastened properly. Like I said, this design is very much about judging with your eyes. It's not perfect all the time, so don't get stressed if you think it's completely oblong. You really have to wait and see. Once you get it together, you can shift the head around and that sort of thing, make it look like its head's kind of on its side, and then you don't notice those imperfections. But I mean, cats make weird facials. They put their ears in opposite directions, you know. It's going to look like a kitty. I'm sure it'll be fine. So from this band, remember, we're going to decrease. So going through that stitch, pull a band through the next stitch, pull a band through, and a band through all of that. So then decreasing again, band through the next stitch, and through the next stitch, and then pulling a band through all of those. Moving on, pulling a band through that next stitch, and a band through the next. Just see where I'm up to. So that is actually the end of my head there. What I might do is just grab not that band but the next one, so the first teardrop, and pull a band through all, and we are up to our next row. And there's a rough look at what our kitty is looking like so far. What I'm going to do is pull out these bands because I don't need them anymore, so I'll just slip that on my hook so I don't lose it. Pull out the ones from the ears. Gosh, I did them nice and tough. One. You can see it's stitched on right. Number 2. Oh, and that one, I did a boo-boo. I didn't actually catch all the bands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the back, I'm going to pull that band through and I'm going to fasten it. Whoops. So I'm going to go up, pull it through from the back, and I'm just going to do a slip knot with that band with just a couple of the bands that are attached to the face. So I know the ear's not going to come apart. Ah! How did I do that? Okay, so now that should be fine. That one's fine. We don't need these pink ones telling us where we are on the sides of the face anymore, really, because the ears are a pretty good judgment for that. Okay, so we'll now be working around this way, so holding the face towards yourself and working around, because we've kind of flipped it inside out. We've used the neater side for the face. The next row we're just going to do single stitch, so adding 1 band, adding 2 bands, and then single into each stitch until we get up to the ears. So 1 stitch into each. I was going to try and fast forward through some of this, but I think it's just easier to do it all with you, isn't it? So single, single, single into each stitch. So single, so this next one here for me is behind the ears. I might just put a single straight into there. Okay, so for all the next stitches we're going to decrease behind the ears. So we'll go into the next stitch and pull a band, and then in the next stitch and pull a band, and then a single band through all of those. The same with the next. We'll go the next stitch, pull a band, and then the next stitch and pull a band. I've got these broken bands in my greys. And then pull single band through all of those. Going on to your next stitch, pull a band, the next stitch, pull a band, and then single band through all. So probably the last one, we're going to go decrease this stitch, and then the next stitch, pull a band through all of those, and then yeah, we're up to there, so I'll just do singles. From here around to the bottom, we will just do single. So what we've just done is we've tried to give our cat a bit of the back of the head going onto the neck. So single stitch, single stitch, single stitch, and this last one I'm going to pull the band through and then find that first teardrop of that row there and pull the band through and reclaim So that's pretty much the bottom of our chin there. That's what we've just done. Count how many you have around, okay, because you don't really want to have any less than, well, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. I've got about 15, which is pretty good. It doesn't matter if you have a few more or a few less. You don't want the neck to be too skinny because you don't want the cat's head to be going blah, blah, blah. You get what I mean? Unless you do. But yeah, if you do find that it's less than 10, go back and do that round again and don't decrease behind the ears. Maybe just decrease a couple less stitches. So like I said, this pattern, it can be a few stitches either way. It's just depending how you do it on the day, I guess. For the next row, you're going to want to decrease every second. But because I've got 15, I'm going to keep it at 15. Like I said, I don't really want to have any less than 10 for my neck. It's a little bit annoying for me trying to do this tutorial because, like I said, each kitty turns out a little bit different. But no, I will. I'll do what I've written down and I will go every second stitch I'm going to decrease. So starting with my first, I'm going to keep it a single, so I'll just add one band, add another band, and then this one, so the next one I'm going to do a decrease, so that one, and then the next one, pulling bands through, and then a band through all. Then this one's going to be a single, so I'm just going to do a single stitch through that one. And then the next one is going to be a decrease, so pulling a band through, going into the next stitch, pulling a band through, and then a band through all of those. Okay, so then another single, and then the next one again is a decrease, so just pull a band through that one, onto the next stitch, pull a band through, and then a single band through all of those. Single through the next stitch, and then another decrease, so single through there, band through there, band through the next, and a single band through all of those. Coming up to the other end, so I'm just going to go single, pull through, and then I'm just going to put, I don't really want to decrease it, but I will just to keep up with my pattern, and then we'll do a count, so one through there, one through the next, and then I'm going to grab that first teardrop, okay, and pull single band through. Then I'm going to count my stitches, see how many I ended up with. So that's 1 on the hook, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank goodness, because I really didn't want to have any less than 10 stitches. If you found that you did have less than 10, you can turn that last decrease into 2 singles, but I just find if it's less than 10, that head's going to be wobbly. Okay, so good, I'm happy that worked out. For the next round, we are going to do an increase in every single stitch. So every stitch is going to have 2 stitches into it. Starting with the first one, there's just a single. So 1 stitch, 1 band, 2 bands, there's your single. Moving on to the next teardrop, and we're going to put 2 stitches. So that's 1 stitch, going back through there, and another stitch. On to the next. We're going to do 2 stitches. So 1 stitch, and then back through the same one again, for the second stitch. Next one, 1 stitch, and the same one again, 2 stitches. On to the next one, 1 stitch, same one again, 2 stitches. Okay, so just repeat that all the way around. Putting 2 stitches into each stitch to increase it by double. So I have got 10, I'm going to end up with 20 at the end. One stitch, and again 2 stitches, up, and second last one. So now I'm up. Basically my starting point has moved around behind the head a little bit more. So 2 stitches through the last one. I will go 1 stitch, and then for my second stitch I'll just pull the band through. No, actually we'll keep that as the second stitch because the first one we started on a single, so we want to go back through that first one where we started and just pull a stitch through and then grab the second teardrop. So you don't have to start on a single, you can start on a double. It's all good. But anyway, that's how we ended up. Just shuffle those around, it won't be so obvious. Okay, and we've done that row. And there is the neck of our kitty. I'm just going to slip that up on my hook. For the next row, we will be attaching the front paws. So you want to get your front paws ready. It's up to you if you actually want to attach them to that row or if you just want to do it as you go. But you basically want to count out, or at least just hold the legs up to where you want them to sit. Like so. We're going to attach them by holding. So the way we go in is that way, okay? We're working around under the chin. So we're going to hold the paws so that the little claws are up against the face. And we're going to stitch, you should have your markers for each side, and we're going to stitch all those bottom stitches into that. So if you want to attach it, you can. What I might do is I'll get the 2 paws and I'm going to attach them via those 2 stitches there. Okay, so I'm going to, I'll just pull those out. I'll put a hook through all of those and attach them with one. Makes it a bit easier so that they're not falling off all over the place. Okay, so that's how they're going to be, like that. So we're going to have to probably start from, depending where your starting line is, so it's easier for you to, if it is easier for you to attach the legs, you can just grab a band and slip knot where you want to start attaching your legs. But because of the way mine has worked out about here, I'm going to pretty much just attach the legs straight on. I'm just going to attach the legs straight around. So I don't have to actually stick them on, if you know what I mean. Okay, enough rambling. So for the next round, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that first stitch where the legs are, where I want to attach, I think I'll probably just go straight through 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, straight through the next one, so not the one that has the pink on it and the one above it for me. I'm going to put in my single stitch for the first round, so 1 band, 2 bands. Then I'm going to hold the legs, the stitch of the leg I'm going to go through first. So remember holding your paws against the chin, that will be facing up, and going through that side, grabbing that first stitch and going in through my next stitch. So the first stitch of the paws that I want to use, and the next stitch of my kitty. It's so hard to show you. So there, okay. Pull a band through just like a normal stitch, reclaim it, and then pull a band through all. Moving on to the next stitch in the legs and the next stitch of the kitty. Pull a band through, and then pull a band through all. Next stitch of the legs, which is actually for me where it ends, so I have to make sure that I grab the proper direction of that stitch so that I don't lose it and it closes it off at the same time. So the next leg, the next stitch of the leg and the next stitch of the kitty. Pull a band through and then pull a band through all of those. Next stitch of the leg and the next stitch of the kitty. Pull a band through and pull a band through all. So that's the first leg pretty much stitched on. If you bend it over, you can see I've done 4 stitches, and then we're back up to where that's joined. So what I might do, just to stop there being a big gaping hole in the middle, I'm going to go through that stitch of that leg that's joined to the next, and I'm going to go through the same stitch that I just went through on the kitty, and I'm going to pull a band through. Just going to pull a band through and I'm going to hold it. Then I'm going to go through the next stitch on the next leg, so the same one on the next leg with that pink band through. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to go to the next stitch on the kitty and pull a band through. I'm going to pull a single band through all of those. So now I go through the next stitch on the leg of the kitty, and I'm going to go through the same stitch that I did on the kitty with that one, so it kind of mirrors itself with joining the legs. It'll be less likely to have a hole in there at the end, if you get what I mean, like a little hole from the stitching coming apart. So stitch through there. The next one of the leg for me is where it joins once again, so I have to make sure I get through those bands. And then the next stitch on the kitty, pull a band through, reclaim, and then pull a band through all of them. The next stitch on the leg there, and then the next stitch on the kitty, which for me is there. Okay, pull a band through and then pull a band through all. So we're back up to where that pink for me is on the leg, and the same like the other side, we didn't use that stitch, so we're going to leave it there, and now we're just going to follow around the kitty. So moving on to the next stitch in the kitty, and then just single stitch all the way around, single stitch through each of those stitches until we get back where we started. So single stitch, get rid of these broken bands, they're confusing me. Single stitches all the way around to the end. getting there, getting there. So it gets a little bit trickier once we get to this end, but not too much. Still just single stitch in each. Okay, my last one, I pull a band through and then I find that first teardrop, which is that one, pull a band through all so that we're back on to, now we're up to our next row. Now we're going to go straight on to the arm, so we're not going to follow this around, we're going to go straight onto the paw, reattaching the paw, so we're going to follow on to, say, that first stitch that we went into. We're going to go in that again and we're going to pull a band through and just hold it, and then, because that's just going to fill in like a little bit of a gap, then we're going to go through the first stitch that has that pink band, so I might take that pink band off, pull the band through, and then just get a single band and pull it through all of those. So the next one on the paw, the next stitch, pull a band through, just putting single stitch through around each stitch on the paw now until you get back in to the center where the paws join. Okay, so and go through that stitch of the paw. This is where you want to use your eyes to just kind of close off any gaps that you think are going to appear. So I'm going to take that pink band out where I have the two paws tied together, and I'm going to go through the next one and just put a single. Need some more grey bands. Sorry guys. So I'm going to look and see if I think there's going to be a big gap. I think there probably will be, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak another band in that hole. I'm just going to pull a band through and hold on to it, and then move on to the next stitch. So probably I could pop one in the middle there so that it doesn't, so it looks like there is a gap between the paws, and then moving on to the next paw I might pop one through there. So like I said, you really just kind of have to use your eyes and fill in. I can see there's going to be a big gap there, so I'm going to take that out and I'm going to move back. And I'm going to go on to probably put another stitch through here and then pull a stitch through there and close that up like so. There's still going to be a little bit of a gap there, but hopefully it will disappear a little bit more. Going in through the next stitch of the paw and single stitching all the way around the rest of that paw. So when you go back and have a look, if you see there's some really big gaps, you can like pop a stitch through the next time you come around, kind of sneak a band in, I guess, or you can just try and like slip knot a band through the back to try and close up the gap. It's completely up to you. I don't think that's too bad. I think it'll be alright when I put stuffing in it, so I'm just going to carry on around and single stitch each stitch of that paw until I get back. There's that pink band. Go through that. I'm going to pull that pink band off. Single stitch. And the last one on the paw, which was the first one, I'm going to put a band through there and then I'm going to move back onto that round of the actual kitty. So I've got both of those on there to try and close up that gap, if you get what I mean, and pull a band through all of those, and that should be your paws completely attached. Alright, so keep following around the back of your kitty, just putting a single stitch into each one of those stitches. Single stitch. Until you get all the way back around where we started. Behind the ears now I am. Still just single stitching all the way around. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see where we started because we attached the legs, but it's basically where that basically where that leg is. So now, instead of changing rows like you normally would, what I want you to do is just keep following around. So this would have been my last stitch where I pull one through and then I would count up, but instead what I want you to do is actually just do that as a single stitch. I'm going to put a band through here to remind myself, okay, that this is basically the last stitch. Put a band through here somewhere to remind yourself that that was pretty much your last stitch. Okay, so it's obvious. Now what I want you to do is just go around, get to there, single stitches for 3 rows. Okay? So single stitches for 3 rows. I'm going to pull out this white band here. And you're not going to worry about your starting and your finishing, just so that you know that once you get to this point, you are going to, that would have been your last band on your row. So we're just going to keep following around for every stitch, going in through the next stitch, and like I said, around the, if you think there's going to be a big gap somewhere, you can slip an extra band in and just keep it on your hook and then pull the band through. But we're pretty much just going to follow all the way around and just put a single stitch into each one. What I'll do is I'll keep going and I'll just fast forward through me doing these rows of single stitches. So this is what you should have so far. Still just going to do 3 rows of single stitches into every stitch. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly pause and show you how it looks so far. My little fingies through there like a puppet, and I will keep just doing 1 single stitch into each stitch until I get around. Then I will move that to the next row so I know where I'm at. We'll do 3 rows, I'll fast forward, and then we will attach the other legs. Okay, so I've just done one round of singles around the whole thing. That's my first stitch going into the one where the pink is tied onto it, so I'm going to remove that and I'm going to attach the pink onto this stitch now. Just to remind myself the next time around that's where it is, and I'm going to follow through and just put a single stitch all the way around. Okay, so I've just finished my second row of putting a single stitch into each stitch. I'm going to grab that pink band, I'm going to attach it to that stitch there to remind myself, and I'm going to go around, keep doing one more row, just a single stitch to each stitch until I get back to that pink marker. So just putting that last stitch in onto that where that pink marker is. Okay, so this is what you should have after you've just done 3 rows of single stitches into each stitch. Now we want to attach the legs onto here. Okay, so we're going to just stitch the legs straight on, grabbing the back legs. I'm just going to lay it flat up against where I want it to go, so probably directly behind where the front legs were. Try and leave a little gap or something like that, I guess. But yeah, so I will pretty much attach those legs straight up on the next row. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a single in each stitch. So that's my next stitch there. I'm going to grab the first paw and I am going to grab the stitch that has that pink marker, and I'm going to go through the stitch that has that pink marker, and I'm going to go through my next stitch on my kitty, just holding that pink marker out the road, and just pull a band through, single stitch through that like so. Moving on to the next leg of the kitty, next leg, the next stitch of the kitty, next stitch in the leg and the next stitch in the kitty, should I say. Pulling band through and a band through all. next stitch in the kitty, which for me is the stitch that closes off the kitty, so I'm going to make sure that I grab both of them. And then the next stitch in the kitty's body, pull a band through, and then pull a band through all. So next stitch in the kitty's leg, next stitch in the kitty's body, pulling a band through, and band through all. Next stitch in the kitty's leg, which will be the one before that pink, the next pink marker, pulling a band through, and then pulling a band through all. Okay, so that's what we've got with the kitty's leg stitched on so far. What I might do to try and stop any holes in between the legs, I'm going to go back through the stitch that I just went through in the leg and the next stitch on the body. Alright, so the same stitch in that first leg and the next stitch in the body, pull a band through and hold it. Then I'm going to go through that stitch in the next leg, so the first stitch in the next leg, I'm going to make it, turn it around like that, that pink one. So I'm going to go through there, and I'm going to go through that same hole in the body, the same stitch in the body, and just pull a band through, reclaim it, and then pull a band through all. So what I just did was I put one band through the body stitch and that leg, and one band through the same body stitch in the opposite leg. Okay, so there was 2 stitches in that last leg stitch. So now I'm going to go through that same stitch in that leg that we just added, and the next stitch on the body. Okay, see what I did? I've mirrored it to what we did on the other side. Pull a band through, and that's a single stitch. The next stitch on the leg, the next stitch on the body, pull a band through and stitch, the next stitch on the leg, the next stitch on the body, pull a band through, stitch, the next stitch on the leg, and the next stitch on the body, pull a band through, and stitch. So that should pretty much be that one joined as well. Yaha yaha. Okay, so now we're just going to move straight on to the next stitch in the body, and just single stitch all the way around till we get to where you want to add the tail, because we're going to add the tail in next. So single stitch up to probably about there. Like I said, it's just you judge it by eye and put it wherever you like. Okay, I'm not a professional, I'm just sharing. I'm not going to say I'm a professional, because I don't think I'm a professional. This is just experiments that have turned out good. So single stitches up until the point where I want to put my tail on. So probably I've just added from where we did the leg 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to measure down by eye the back of the head, and for the tail we want to put probably 3, 4 stitches, I think it was, because we got 7. Yeah, so we'll attach it at the top by 4. So I'm going to place it about there. So I'm going to have the tail is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll go 1 more stitch, 1 more single stitch, and then I'll add the tail. So I'm going to hold it up. Hold it up against where I want it to be. Find that first stitch, so not the one with the pink, and then that next stitch on the body, pulling a band through, and then a single band through all. So then the next stitch on the tail and the next stitch on the body, pulling a band through, and then another band through. Next stitch on the tail and the next stitch on the body, pulling a band through, and next stitch on the tail, which is the one with the pink, next stitch on the body, making sure I follow onto the next stitch, and pulling through a stitch and pulling it through a band through all. Okay, so that's the tail attached there by half of the stitches. We should have 3 left over for the next round, and we're just going to follow through till we get to that marker, I guess, or till we get to the leg, the marker. So single stitch. Sorry guys, I'm just getting a little bit lost. So single stitch, and then single stitch, and then single stitch. Okay, so that's, I'll say the next one, put in one more single stitch. No, we'll leave that there. I'm going to pull out that tag there. Alright, and pull out that one and that one. All of my little pink doobies I'm going to pull out to get them out of the road. Okay, so for this row, what we want to do obviously is attach the other half of the legs and the other half of the tail, but we also want to decrease it all the way around. So what I'm going to do is go straight from the leg. As you can see, for me, my stitch is right about right, and try and close up any gaps that I can. But if you think you can put another stitch in and then go to your leg, however it's worked out for you, because like I said, we're not everybody's is going to look exactly the same, depending on your band choice and that sort of thing. So I'm going to try and close up a little bit of the gap where the legs join. So I'm going to go straight through my first stitch on my leg, and that first stitch I'm just going to pull a band, and like I said, because we're decreasing, now I'm going to go the next stitch in the leg, pull a band, and then I'll pull a single band through all of those. So the next stitch in the leg, I'll pull a band through, and then onto the next stitch in the leg, pull a band through, and then pull a single band through all. So onto the next stitch in the leg, which is pretty much the last one in the leg, pull a band through, the next stitch, which is already attached, but I'm just going to slip a band in there just to close up any gaps that there might be. Okay, and I'm going to pull a band through, going on to the next, which is in between the legs. So in between the legs I'm going to do the same thing, just going to try and close up any holes that there might be. I'm going to slip a stitch in, attaching it to that previous row. So I'm just going to slip a stitch in there. Might actually slip a stitch into the next one as well. My next door neighbour's child is screaming. And then I'm going to slip a stitch into where the leg is, just to try and close up any holes that might end up there. If you get what I mean? If you hold it out you can see like there might still be a hole there, so what I might do is I'll just pull that last stitch off, and I'm going to go through there and there. So through the leg and the bit of the body I'm going to try and close off that hole. I'm just going to slip a stitch in, then I'm going to move around the leg, so I'm going to go the next stitch on the leg, slip a stitch in, and then one band through all of that, so I've decreased it. The next stitch in the leg is actually where I finished my leg again, so I'm going to slip through there and make sure it gets closed off, and then the next stitch in the leg, I'm going to slip a band through there, so I'm carrying on my decrease, and I should be able to pull that blue band out now. Sorry for the noise, guys. So the next one on the leg, slipping a band through, the next one on the leg, slipping a band through, and then a band through all of those. So we're just about to joining the body, so we'll go, I'll slip one through there, through the leg, as well as through the body row to close up that hole there. Yep. And then I'm going to slip one through the next stitch in just the body, and then one band through all of those. So then moving on to the next stitch in the body, pulling a band through, and then the next stitch in the body, pulling a band through all of those, next stitch in the body, pulling a band through, next stitch in the body, pulling a band through, and a single band through all of those. So we're getting closer to the tail, so remember for the tail, so what we're going to need is probably 1, 2, 3, 4, another 4 or 5 stitches. So where I'm up to, I'll just do one more stitch, I'll pull a band through, and then I'm going to move on to the tail, and I'm actually going to grab the stitch that we already used in the tail and pull a band through, and I'm going to close that off, and I'm going to have a look at it and see if I've left a big hole. I have. So what I might do is I'll just go back, so I'm going to pinch that band, pull my hook out and put my hook back through the bands that were attached to that. Okay, so I've back onto that stitch. I'll do that single one there, and then what I might actually do is go through that tail, through the tail piece as well as through the body stitch. Okay, so that should close up that hole. Yeah, I think so. And now pull a single band through all of those. So onto just the tail, the next stitch in the tail, pull band through, the next stitch in the tail, pull a band through, and then a band through all those. Go back and have a look. Yeah, it looks fine. I should be able to work with that, so no big holes left. Next stitch in the tail, pull a band through, and the next stitch in the tail for me is actually where I closed the tail off. So I'm going to go through that way, and then I'm also going to attach it to the body. So I'm going to grab that stitch in the body, and I'm just going to pull a band through those. So what do we got? That's our decrease. I'm going to pull a band through all of those. Okay, so onto the next stitch in the body. If you think you're going to make a hole, you can add a band in. I'm just going to go that next stitch there, pull a band, the next stitch, pull a band, and pull a band through all of those. Okay, so that's the back end of the legs are joined and the back end of the tail is joined. I'm going to remove this pink band out that was closing my tail off. It's fine. So now all you want to do is just keep decreasing. Decrease all the way around until you've got approximately less than 10, maybe like 8 stitches or 6 stitches even, it's up to you, but a big enough hole that you can still stuff your kitty. So we'll just keep going around and decreasing into the next stitch, pull a band, into the next stitch, pull a band, and then pull a band through all of those. Into the next stitch, pull a band, and then the one after that, pull a band, and a band through all of those. So into the next stitch, pull a band, the next stitch, pull a band, and then pull a band through all, into the next stitch, pull a band, next one, pull a band, and then a band through all, into the next stitch. So pretty much just going to decrease all the way around so that we've done another full row of decreasing, and you should have a hole big enough to stuff your kitty still. So putting a band in the next stitch, and then a band in the stitch after that, and then band through all. Back up to the tail I am. Just going to decrease to there, to the tail. So a band through that stitch, a band through the next, and then a band through all, and do a quick count of my stitches because I think that should be fine. So 1 on the hook, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got 10 there. What I might just do is I'm going to grab the white band, this white band, any band, just do a little slip knot on that stitch. I just snapped it, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to hold it there for you so you don't lose it. And you can have a look at your kitty. We're up to the bottom, and now all we need to do is stuff it. Yay! Okay, so whatever you'd like to use to stuff it, what I'm going to use is some toy stuffing. It's called Hobby Fill, and it just is basically this stuff here. Okay, so you probably don't want to overstuff your kitty, but it's completely up to you how squishy or floppy you want it to be. You can shove your fingers straight through and into the feet, so the way we've stitched it you should be able to stuff them quite easily, but you don't have to stuff the legs. I actually like how the legs look. These ones are stuffed. These ones kind of aren't. So some of them are, some of them aren't. I like how they're a little bit fluffy when they're not overly, they're a little bit squishy, if you get what I mean. Floppy? Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so we're going to put some stuffing in, and I'm going to push it all the way through and down to the head. So pushing that stuffing all the way through into Kitty's head. And you get more of an idea of the shape of its face. And put some more stuffing in there. Into the body. And I might try and put a little bit, just a little bit into the legs, because I don't like it when you can see the stuffing through the bands. I like it when you can't really see any of the stuffing, but yeah, it's up to you. So those front legs have got just a little bit of stuffing in there, but not too much, still just that bit floppy. You can use like a stuffing hook or whatever they call it to push it down and in, but I like to just use my fingers Gives you a chance to move the bands around at the same time. Okay, so a bit more stuffing in there. A bit more stuffing in the back legs. So if you want to make it so it looks like it's half standing up, you've got a bit of stuffing in those back legs so it will stand up or look like it's going to pounce or something like that. I'm not going to bother putting any stuffing in the tail because I like the tail being really squiggly, but like I said, it's completely up to you. Now once you feel like you've stuffed your kitty enough, we're going to go back and we're going to close it up, grabbing that band once again. I'm going to pull the white one off. Okay, so now what I want you to do, you could probably do one more, I can do one more decrease. I'm going to get it down to, actually, yeah, I'll do one more decrease. So I'll put a stitch through, a band through that stitch and a band through that stitch, decrease it. So I've got less than 10, but yeah, your hole should be around that big. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put a band through each stitch and hold it. So band through the first stitch, hold it on your hook. Band through the next stitch, hold it on your hook. Band through the next stitch, hold it on your hook. Band through the next stitch, hold it on your hook. Band through the next stitch. So I think I've got about 8 bands, 8 stitches. Finding that next stitch. Now if it makes it easier, what you can do is grab, I am going to close it off with 2 single bands just because I think it'll be a little bit stronger. Pull them through all of those stitches and reclaim it on your hook. Now if you've still got a couple like me to pop a couple of stitches through, I'm just going to grab my secondary hook, going through from the outside, pulling a band through, and reclaiming, and then that last stitch, the second last stitch, pulling a band through, reclaiming, and then absolutely last stitch, pulling a band through and reclaiming. And I'm going to grab and hold that there. I'm going to hold that end of that band, those 2 bands, and then I'm going to grab the opposite end with that second hook. Right, a bit fiddly, but you don't have to do it that way. And I'm going to pull those 2 bands through those last few there. Okay, so there is the bottom. I've got that double band through all of those bands through each of the stitches. Now I'm just going to grab a single band and I'm going to slip knot it. Easy. Give your pussycat's bottom a move around so that it gets all comfortable, and that's pretty much what you should have. Okay, go in and hide that band that we closed it off with, so reach in and grab it and pull it back through and hide it so there's no way that it can get caught on anything. And there you have it. I've got one more band in here that I can remove. Nothing's going to fall apart. And there is our super cute finished kitty. Okay. So here it is, the Playful kitty. Yay! You can make it stand up how you like. My son is screaming at the television. So yeah, I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you could keep up. Sorry it's taken me so long to get it out. But yeah, make yourself a super cute little cat's collar, your own design, whatever you like. That one I've just put like yellow and orange to try and make a little circly charm on there. This one here, I've actually added a little bell, 2 little bells. So there they are, the Playful kitties. I think they are super cute. Each one is slightly different, but obviously that's the one that we just made together. I hope you like it. You can add whiskers to it, you can change the features however you like, and I hope as well that this has given you some more techniques, or taught you how to stitch arms and legs on. Yeah, just I really hope that you liked it. Feels like it's taken me forever to get this together for you guys, but yeah, we got there in the end. So thank you once again. Find me on Instagram and Facebook at Vixxstarr, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.